सिन्दूरारुणविग्रहां त्रिनयनां माणिक्यमौलिस्फुरत् तारानायकशेखरां स्मितमुखीमां मीनवक्षोरुहां पाणिभ्यामलिपूर्णरत्नचषकं रक्तोत्पलं बिभ्रतीं सौम्यां रत्नघटस्थरक्तचरणां ध्यायेत् परामम्बिकाम् सान्निपातिकज्वर सततज्वर विषमज्वर ग्रहनक्षत्रदोषाञ्चान्या हर हर काली सर सर गौरी क्रमधमविद्ये आले माले काले बन्धे भज भज विद्ये मख मख विद्ये नाशय नाशय पापम् हर हर दुःस्वप्नम् विध्वंसय विध्वंसय विघ्नविनाशिनि रजनी सन्ध्ये मुन्दुभिनादे मानस्तोषे मानसवेगे शङ्खिनी चक्रिणी वज्रिणी गदिनी शूलिनी अपमृत्युविनाशिनी विश्वेश्वरी द्राविडी केशवदैते पशुपति सहिते धीममर्दिनि धमनी कामिनी शबरी विराटी वाचक्री ॐ द्रं 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 ॐ द्रं गुरु गुरु
Namaste, everyone. Welcome to the next session of this global festival, which is going around from last a week now. Every day, we have 3 different speakers coming with the practice and theory, some light on the yogic wellness aspects, which can make you healthier and happier. Today, I am here to host a beautiful session on yoga for homeostasis. Before we go to the session, let me introduce our speaker, Dr. Lalitha Gaurav. Personally, I know her from, I think, more than a decade now. It's been like 2005, if I'm not wrong. She'll definitely know all those days when we were kind of nurturing our own selves, exploring our own self, learning a lot, growing together. So today she is an assistant professor in yoga at Lakshmi Bai National Institute of Physical Education. a managing trustee of Vedic Institute of Yoga and Seva, that's Vinyas. And she's also a co-founder of Vinyas with her husband, Sri Gaurav. From 11 years, she's been running this center, not only giving yogic knowledge to people, but also putting this holistic way of lifestyle, not just with the physical level, but at the mental, spiritual level. How can you connect deeper into it? And that's also one of the things which she'll come up with today. She's a PhD in yoga, and today her topic is going to really take you deep down into how to keep yourself balanced within, irrespective of the outer situation and circumstances which are changing. So I welcome Dr. Lalitha Gaurav, heartiest welcome. And through Indica Yoga, I am really very thankful for you to come and join and give us this enlightening talk. I give all the time to you for the next few minutes. It's all yours, please.
Thank you, Neha. Thank you so much for the screen space. And Neha has been a great friend to me, and she herself is a great yogini. I call her a beautiful yogini, pretty yogacharini. So first of all, I would love to thank Indica Yoga and the entire team, Vinayji, Anuradhaji, for having believed in me, for giving this opportunity to stand up and talk about something that I could possibly share in this illustrious platform. Thank you so much for that. And I usually start with a prayer prostrating Swamiji. So please allow me to do it.
So,
Namaste.
Lalita, just one more announcement before we go. Just sorry to interrupt, just a little announcement for all the participants, because in between the participants are requested to put their questions and answers in the question answer box and not in the chat box, because it's easier for me to see all the questions so that I can put up one by one to Lalita at the end of the session. So if you have any questions, please do write it down in the question answer box, and at the end of the session, we'll take care. Lalita, all yours now. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. I just wanted to have a quick prayer on Swamiji. Namaste Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Sachit Sukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharine Swamine Tapaharine. So I will be talking upon homeostasis and how yoga can bring in homeostasis in our system. I hope everybody knows what homeostasis is, but still I would like to present it in a simpler way in layman's terms. Homeostasis, according to me, is like an air conditioner, you know. Air conditioner has this facility of switching on and switching off. After 2 hours, the air conditioner switch offs on its own, you know. That kind of switch ons and switch off system that we have in our internal environment is what I see as homeostasis. Like for example, if you are doing intense workouts, you know, what happens? Your body gets heated up and your body temperature nudges up, right? So, and then in an example where you drink lots of fruit juices, and what happens? Immediately, the glucose level shoots up in your bloodstream. So at these conditions, what is the inner physiology? How does the inner physiology react to, you know? When the body temperature moves up, how does it bring it down? When the blood glucose levels moves out, how does it bring it down? So that ability to bring in the inner system, inner physiological reactions to normalcy is what homeostasis is all about. So this homeostasis mechanism is done by something called negative feedback loops, you know. And these negative feedback loops are just the stimulus sent by the endocrine glands that we have to the brain, and to be very specific, hypothalamus, to the hypothalamus, saying that no more production of hormones, please, no more of heightened body temperature, no more of heightened blood glucose levels, please. And then homeostasis happens with the signals of hypothalamus, where it says cease, stop. Now, no more of extending the body temperature, no more of extending your blood glucose levels. You know, the entire physiology beautifully, magically operates in such a manner. I should say, the urge for you to pee, the thirst that you have, the hunger, even as women, the ability to deliver a child, every possible action that you see, that you do, that you perceive, everything is done by these hormones and this beautiful mechanism called negative feedback loops, which brings you back to normalcy. Why am I talking about homeostasis in this presentation? I would quickly come to that part in a few minutes later. So this basically is a body-brain communication, you know, and basically hypothalamus and endocrine gland-based communication. As I said, body temperature, whether your pH levels of your bloodstream, or the cells, the ionization of cells that you have, everything is regulated by this homeostasis, this beautiful system called homeostasis. Let me again quickly make you the action of homeostasis in a layman's term, I should say. What happens while you stand under the scorching sun? Your body temperature shoots up, right? So when the body temperature shoots up, the blood vessels dilate, you know, the blood vessels dilate so that the heat present in the body is lost to the environment. How does it do it? It stimulates the sweat glands, and then sweat glands tries to produce sweat so that it evaporates. And while evaporation happens, the body, the temperature that we have right now gets decreased, and that's how the heat is lost to the environment around the body. So that's how the body temperature is regulated to normalcy. And on the other hand, while you are sitting in a compact movie hall, okay, and the air conditioners are working terrifically well and you're completely cold, what happens? The blood vessels constricts, and the constriction of blood vessels stops the sweat glands to work, and it also leads to shivering. What happens while the body shivering happens? The heat is conserved, the heat is generated. So a little amount of warmth is spread to the body, and that's how heat is retained, and you get back the normalcy, 37 degrees centigrade. That's what your body temperature, normal body temperature should be. So every single reaction of the body is done through negative feedback loop mechanism. If the body temperature rises, the body sweats. If the body temperature drops, the body shivers. Every single reaction is done by hypothalamus, and that's what we call as homeostasis. So as I already mentioned, it is a body-brain communication. A stimulus is obtained. The sensors, the nerve endings that you have sensed the stimulus that the body temperature is moving up, is exceeding 37 degrees centigrade. And the control, the sensors give the information to the control center, the temperature regulatory center, which is nothing but our dear hypothalamus. The control hypothalamus and then gives the signals to the effector gland, the sweat glands to produce sweat. And if sweat is produced a lot, what will happen? The body temperature will be decreased so much, so intensely low. So effector gland gives a signal again to the stimulus, saying that stop producing more of that stimulus, so that I'm not going to produce more sweat, so that the body temperature is right up to the level of 37 degree. So that's how the entire body-brain communication happens beautifully. in the homeostasis. As I say, hypothalamus, some people perceive it as the first and foremost supraendocrine gland. Some people don't perceive it as the endocrine gland. But to me, hypothalamus, I call it as the main switchboard, you know. It is responsible for all the metabolic activities that you can see. If you're hungry, your body temperature, the fatigue, the sleep, the circadian rhythm, hormonal functioning, inhibitory functioning of hormones, everything is decided by hypothalamus, you know. So this hypothalamus does not work individually. You all might have learned about the master gland pituitary, right? We usually perceive the pituitary gland to be the most important. But I should say hypothalamus is more important than pituitary because they work together, you know. Unless until hypothalamus sends the signal to pituitary gland to initiate the secretion or to inhibit the secretion of the hormone, pituitary will not work. So pituitary works under hypothalamus. I call this as CEO of the company, you know. Under his directions, everything moves on, you know. So hypothalamus is more important. And hypothalamus has perfect control over the pituitary, as I've already said, the pineal gland, the most ignored gland, I should say, by the modern medical science, the thyroid gland, the adrenal gland, pancreas, the ovary and testes in male and female gonads. So these are the major endocrine glands, but they all work under hypothalamus. How does that go? Hypothalamus releases something called thyrotropin releasing hormone, corticotropic releasing hormone, gonadotropic releasing hormone, prolactin factor, growth hormone releasing hormone. All these are initiated by hypothalamus, and then pituitary gland gets its exercise, you know. It exercises the TSH, ACTH, luteinizing follicle stimulating hormone, prolactin, and growth hormones. So what does these hormones actually do to your body, you know? Thyrotropic releasing hormones is actually important for body's metabolism, you know. Whether you're hungry, how much you have to eat, how many calories you have to spend, and how much has to be restored. Everything is decided by this thyroid. But usually participants or in fact yoga therapists think that if there is any problem in the TSH levels, it is the thyroid gland who is the culprit. No, it is not. It is always the hypothalamus, the other side of the coin, you know, which is really in imbalance and cannot produce TRH much, so that there is an decline or an increase in the TSH levels, making them hypothyroidic or hyperthyroidic. So similarly, CRH is for your stress handling things, you know, stress hormones. Cortisol you might have heard of. How much cortisol has to be produced. If cortisol has been produced, then where and when to stop these cortisol secretions, everything is decided by hypothalamus. Gonadotropic releasing hormones, all your reproductive functions. In women, it is about menstrual regularities, and all those things depends upon GnRH. In women, again, prolactin factor, the nursing mothers can lactate better. The quality of mother's feed becomes better only with PRF, you know. And growth hormone releasing hormone, young guys grow with their long bones and good muscles, you know, and that's because of GHRH, growth hormone releasing hormone. So to put in a capsule, hypothalamus really takes care of alpha to omega of your body. So why am I talking about this? I will link hypothalamus with the yogic functions a little while later, but I'm actually taking a little diversion in my presentation. I've been asked by many participants who've been intensely working out with yoga, you know, for about 15 years, 20 years continuously, but still they find their thyroids not normalizing. They find their diabetic clinical symptoms not stabilizing. Why is it so? I've been researching. Actually, it has been 15 years still since I've been working with yoga therapy and dealing with many participants. So I've been asking these questions myself. Why is that yoga not producing that desired benefit, that what they want, a holistic health? You know, where lies the mistake? Where is the culprit? So the culprit is hypothalamus. You know, in Sanskrit we say manayeva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoh. You know, this mind, the hypothalamus, is creating the problem. Improper lifestyle, improper sleep time, improper eating habits, everything disrupts the functioning of hypothalamus here. And that's why people get completely stressed out with improper cortisol hormones, improper secretion of cortisol hormones. Some people have low immunity, you know. Some people have problems in dealing with their what should I say, infertility. People always complain about their irregular menstruation, weak weak bones, you know. All these things is not because of those hormones that we think, but that switchboard which actually creates the control, which actually regulates the control, and that's our hypothalamus, that's our mind. Remembering Swami Dayananda, he actually showed up to Prashanti when we were in 2004. He used to give a funny lecture, give funny lectures upon understanding what your fundamental problem is, you know. He gives this Adi Shankaracharya's classical example of pot and mud, but he used to call us all a crackpot, you know, a pot with a crack. So we are all crackpots. We are not understanding the basic problem, that the fear, the anxiety, the emotional turmoils that we are creating all by ourselves is the root cause of the imbalance in the hypothalamus, imbalance in the homeostasis. And that's why we are entangled in the diseases, you know. One or the other clinical symptom of the disease is actually creating the trouble, you know. So I say duality is disharmony, dvaita is disease, advaita, oneness, is wellness. So when you are one, connected with that divine consciousness, that unchanging entity, you know, when you are united with that, you are never in fear, you are never in imbalance, you are never scared, you are never condemning self, you're never in guilt, you're never in anxiety. So that's what Yoga Vashishta also says. And some interesting facts happen in the yoga studio, in the institute. We deal with the participants. First we talk to them, write, pen it down, black and white, what are all the problems that they have. So I used to ask questions to these people. Okay, how are you, where are you, where do you come from, you know, what's your name, all those questions. And you know how do they start with? Madam, I have been completely exhausted with all these efforts in yoga. I've been doing yoga. Or people will also say, I'm beginner to yoga, but I'm exhausted with all those 15 years of diabetes that I have. You know, I feel so nauseatic while I eat because my digestion is not working. I'm not having proper relationships with my wife. All those things roams around with my problem, my diabetes. So what are they? I was taken aback by their responses. Yes, disease actually creates trouble in your mind, but people identify themselves to the disease, you know. They say my disease, my diabetes, my hypothyroidism is creating a problem in weight loss. I've been walking a lot, I've been doing a yoga a lot, but my weight doesn't go down. You know, too much identification with the problem is creating the fundamental problem, as Swami Dayananda used to say. So So I just put all those Vedantic principles together and try to find out what's happening, you know. It is this vicious cycle of mind that is creating the problem. One, the desire to be out of all problems, the desire to become the most famous personality, the desire to change the life that we have, you know, the desires, the karma is actually pushing ourselves to do such actions called karma, you know, the actions, the sansaric actions, I mean, you know, the actions called karma. The sansaric actions again generate as bhoga, you know, generate the experience. The experience can be pleasant, the experience can be unpleasant too. So all those pleasant and unpleasant experience gives us samskaras, create deep dark impressions in your chitta, you know, and these impressions in turn take the form of subtle desires called vasanas, the same desires where we started, you know, the karma, the same desires. And these desires propel as thought waves. As Nagaratna Didi rightly says, she calls it as vega, the excessive thought, you know, the excessive speeded up thought waves. So the entire cycle of mind has to be taken care of. It is not that I'm working only on asana pranayama and not working on my emotional layer, not working on my behavioral part. It will not work. You have to actually work on diverse levels. That's my take here. So when Yoga Vashishta says Manaf Prashamana Upayaga, it talks really not on Manaha, but it talks upon all the ingredients of Manaha. Manaha, Chitta, Buddhi, Ahankara, all those aspects, you know. So I call this as stress. If you think your nagging wife or shrieking boss, yelling husband is your stress, no, they are not your stress. But the response to the stress that you give is the real stress. And that creates imbalance in hypothalamus, that creates imbalance in homeostasis. So yoga says restore that balance. How do you restore the balance? Just by changing the mindset? No, it will not happen, because mind has various levels inside, you know. It has emotions, it has memories, it has different thought forms, it has intellect inside. You have to work with all those antakarana, you know. And we definitely know there is a close connection, a close link between emotions, behavioral transformation, and your nervous and endocrine system. You know, your endocrine system will work well when you're not fearful. Your endocrine system, your hypothalamus will work well when you're not anxious. Your endocrine system and nervous system, of course, will work well. Your pranic system will work well when you try to change the attitude that you have in your life. When you bring in yama and niyama, I should say, when you bring in values to your life, you know. Recently, it's a very unfortunate event that I came across in the newspapers about a sadhu being beaten to death. You know, it was very, I actually very heart moving and heart touching, because I cried also that day. The sadhu was beaten to death. Okay, let's see the bright side of the event. The sadhu remained sadhu just because he took up all those beatings, not even offending those people, having that beautiful smile all the time. This is what Krishna says. He was not dying, I should say. He remained sadhu. You know, he is full of life. Dukkeshvanud vignamanaha, sukeshu vigatasprihaha, vita raga bhaya krodaha stitadihi. When the stability is obtained in the dhi shakti, in the awareness, then you are a muni, you are a sadhu yourself, you are a rishi yourself. And that's the secret how to move beyond all those worries, beyond all those clutches of your disease, you know. You have to really move away from all those stressors, perceive the stressors as challenges, perceive the sukha, the pleasures, as an opportunity, you know, and be away from all those excessive attraction and excessive repulsion. Talking about homeostasis, I cannot ignore the samatva concept of yoga, you know. Samatvam, the equilibrium, the equanimity, the harmony, the equipoise that yoga talks is well illustrated as points in Sthita Prajna Lakshana of Bhagavad Gita in the 2nd chapter. You know, one should be beyond passion, one should be beyond fear, anger, egotism, possessiveness, all those things. And I've listed it down. While I listed those Sthita Prajna characteristics in my slide, I suddenly realized Mata Sita, she was a perfect example of Sthita Prajna, you know. She was literally not fearful, not scared about Ravana when he said, look, you are on my bed tonight or on my plate the next breakfast. She handles that kind of stress in a very, what should I call, in a very balanced manner. It is amazing when Swami Vivekananda, actually Swami, I used to read Swamiji a lot. So when Swamiji speaks of Sita Mata and connecting every Indian girl, every Indian woman to be having those bloods and veins, the circulatory system of Sita Mata, I feel so proud of it. We have to gain balance from her, you know. So Hanuman says, Mata, please use myself, utilize me as your ride. I can fly, I can take you on my back and I can fly you to Sri Rama himself. You know what she says? She says, that's not nice. It will not reveal the grandeur of Rama. Such an amount of balance, even amidst all those turmoils, all those commotions created by Rakshasins. Hanuman says, okay, I'm going to kill these Rakshasins who were troubling you, Mata. You know what she says? She develops that compassion to all those who did wrong to her, spoke wrong to her. You know, she was so friendly to those people, and she said, no, you shouldn't be doing it. So every single characteristic of Sthita Prajna is Sita, and you have to learn. As women, we all have to learn from Sita Mata, as men also, I should say. Patanjali also speaks of behavioral transformation. He also counsels that, look, you have to change your emotional outset. If you're not going to have that Chitta Shuddhi, Bhava Shuddhi, then the essence of yoga, the impact of yoga is going to be unsufficing, or will not suffice, will be unfulfilling. So he talks about Chitta Prasadanam. He talks of Mudita, Karuna, Maitri, Upeksha, all those characteristics to be brought in with different circumstances. He also talks about Pratipaksha Bhavanam. Whenever your mind is so fickle, you know, it will, even if you're moving towards the right path, you're being guided by the light of Guru, this fickle mind will actually flinch you away from the path. So what do you have to do? Pratipaksha Bhavana. Work on the opposites of it, you know. Carry all those, carry that negative attitude towards your negative bhavana, towards the Asuri Sampat. He also emphasizes upon the metacognitive habitual patterns and the differences that you have to create in your behavior and thoughts to have a complete holistic health. So talking about rishis and munis and ancestors, even modern medical science have accepted this, that unless until you change your behavior, unless until you change your emotions, unless until you change the perception that you have towards your life, you will never be out of out of your ill health. You will never be out of your sickness. And that they call as psychoneuroimmunology. A new branch has evolved, you know. And these guys, it took a lot of time. Actually, in 1975, the psychoneuroimmunology has been devised. But what does it basically say? It says nervous system has complete link with endocrines. And you know, endocrines basically work with the emotions. And if your endocrines are good, your immune system, the mechanism to fight against disease, to fight against all your clinical symptoms, will be good. If your immune system is good, then your brain and all the CNS, ANS, central nervous system, and your autonomic nervous system will go good. So it is all the mind, the emotions, and the way we work, integration of all those three that matters, you know. And they have come up with something called SOC. I call it as Sita of contemporary, but it is not so. SOC is sense of coherence. Sense of coherence is a concept that has been evolved by Aaron Antonovsky. He's a medical sociologist, and he evolved this concept in 1975, looking into the aspects why certain people are so positive, certain people even having all those problems in their life, all those terrific diseases, they come out very well. They can handle the stresses very well, and they can handle their they can reverse their diseases even. And how is it not possible with the others? And they call this integration, what I've been talking of all throughout my presentation, as the sense of coherence. And a person remains with his disease because he lacks SOC. A person comes out of the disease, reverses himself, and be pink in health because of SOC. Talking of SOC, I was reminded of Dr. W. Selvamoorthy, who is the president of DRDO. He gives a wonderful lesson how to have this balance, the moderatism, you know, how to do that while you face the stress. He says, modify the perceptions of stress as something as opportunities or challenges. And don't get fearful, don't cry if your boss is yelling at you, if your husband is yelling at you, if you have a difficulty in your body, if your child is sick. What do you have to do? Don't cry, or don't be painful about it. Don't let your anger come out. If you're doing all this, then it's okay, but try to optimize the levels of your anger, optimize the levels of your fear, optimize the levels of your crying out, you know. He says, if you're going to optimize the levels, and that would be the efficient part where you can release your pent-up stress as well, you know. As I've said, fear is that which creates all the troubles, creates the imbalance in your homeostasis, imbalance in your growth hormone, imbalance in your metabolism, imbalance in your optic ability, because hypothalamus is in your suprachiasmatic opticism. It can also create differences in your body temperature. It can disrupt your gut health. It can disrupt your circulatory system and also your immune system, to be very precise. So this physiological harmony is happening only because of your emotions here, only because of your response to the emotions, only because of the behavior that you have towards your stress. And this creates an imbalance that everyone knows between sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system, between the fight and flight reflex and rest and digest reflex. The secret to achieve harmony through physiology is to exercise vagal tone. Vagus nerve, hardly people know about it. It is the 10th cranial nerve that arises from your brainstem. It moves, vagus literally in Latin means wanderer. So it wanders over every single area, you know. It actually takes care of trachea, your cardiovascular system, your gastrointestinal system, your gut, even to liver, even to spleen. Every single vital organ is being nourished with this vagus nerve. So what is interesting about this vagus nerve? You know what? Recent researchers have told that if you're going to unlock the potential of vagus nerve, you can literally reduce the inflammations in your body. Inflammation, any swelling is creating the problem, creating the imbalance in the homeostasis. Thyroid patients, everybody can understand the swelling of the thyroiditis, the Hashimoto thyroiditis is the problem for all fluctuations in the TSH levels, fluctuations in the T3, T4, triiodothyronine and thyroxine levels. So vagus nerve literally can help in reducing that inflammation and keep you pink in health and keep your homeostasis, keep your balance on. How do you do it? There are various techniques to tap this vagus nerve. They say if vagus nerve is tapped, then parasympathetic nervous system can be activated better. So how do you tap it? When you inhale, what happens? Your heart rate gets heightened. And when you exhale, your heart rate moves slow. So that's how you stimulate the SNS and activate the PNS. They say when you extend the difference between the inhalation and exhalation, the vagus nerve is activated. The parasympathetic nervous system is activated, stimulated, and that's how you can relax better. If you relax better, the inflammation is reduced. If the inflammation is reduced, half the root cause of all the problems, all the psychosomatic ailments is vanished, you know. What are all the other techniques, yogic techniques to work on this vagus nerve? Is various forms of pranayama. It's the breath work, the diaphragmatic breathing that one can do. One can actually splash cold water on face. This can also help in activating vagus nerve. You know, it feels good. It feels good because it activates your vagus nerve and relaxes your anxiety. Humming, chanting mantras, singing can all help, you know. And healthy gut, keep yourself completely disciplined in your routine of sleep and wake up patterns, of dietary patterns. Having a good intake of probiotics can also help in helping this vagus nerve to activate. They've also said love empathy, developing love empathy, having mental and physical well-being, developing intuition and connectedness can help this vagus nerve to get activated. While I was making the slides, then I realized this is nothing but our 4 streams of yoga. Love and empathy is what Bhakti Yoga talks of. Mental and physical being is what Jnana Yoga talks of. Intuition and understanding the knowledge, listening to it, understanding and implementing, creating that willpower within, creating that intuition from within is what Jnana Yoga talks of. Connecting to people and serve people is what Karma Yoga talks of. So it is not working only with asana, pranayama, which can help you to get out of your sickness. You should understand Purna Yoga, you know, as Sri Aurobindo puts it. Work with all the 4 streams of yoga. Make yoga dissolve into yoga, and I should say make yoga as a part of your life, you know. While I say yoga, it is not doing asanas and pranayama. I again try to emphasize on this part. I would not talk much about mantras and resonance, which could awaken our vagal tone, because Shantala ji had talked about it much in a very efficient manner in this webinar. I should say, if you're not able to chant Vedic mantras also, it is even the Kanda Shashti Kavacham that can help. the Lalita Sahasranamam chanting, Vishnu Sahasranamam chanting. I've seen people coming out of deathbed through chanting, and just by listening to the resonance of these shlokas, you know, it has this, I should say, subtle effects in your physiology, in your nervous system. Again, I would try to emphasize the little correction in the way that you practice. People say, I have to reduce my weight so that my thyroid levels go down. I have to reduce my weight so that my pancreas works well. I'm out of my diabetes. I have to reduce my I have to reduce my weight down so that my liver works well. I'm out of fatty liver disease. No, it is not intense physical exercise that is going to help. It is always the relaxation, the double deeper relaxation coupled with the intense exercise, intense yoga practice, that is going to help. Swami Vivekananda Yoga Research Foundation, S. Vyasa, had given tons and tons of researches saying that if you're going to relax well, then your hypopituitary pancreatic axis, which is the portal system for homeostasis, going to get proper. It can enable your neuroplasticity, which means you can change the entire, the kaya kalpa, you know, the kaya kalpa aspect. You can change your entire body, you can change your entire physiology through such practices. Pranayama, meditation can actually raise your melatonin levels. Melatonin is one, again, a hormone produced by pineal gland, the much avoided gland. Pineal gland is something but our bindu chakra, you know, what yoga talks of. If you're going to tap this pineal gland, then you will know what is holistic health means in actual terms. So yoga therapy has to be understood in a wider spectrum, I should say. We are working upon samadosha, samagnischa, samadhatu mala through asana and pranayama. Yes, we are working on bioenergy, prana also. But what about your emotions, prasanna indriya? What about spiritualism, prasannatma? What about bringing down balance in the psyche, prasanna manaha? So if you want health, work upon all those factors. Even the daily events of your life will decide the marker, the indications of your health. Achara, vichara, vyavahara. That's my take in the take of this entire presentation. Vyavahara has to be changed, you know. Yogic anatomy talks about chakras. If you want to maintain that homeostasis, we have 4 different chakras which we have to tap on, which we have to create and balance in, which are Vishuddhi, Agnya, Bindu, and Sahasrara. Talking of all those chakras, we as yoga therapists and practitioners, we all know what are all the techniques. To tap Vishuddhi chakra, what do we do? Ujjayi pranayama. To tap Vishuddhi chakra, what do? You know, we have to do Viparita Karani Mudra, meditation can also help. Yes, definitely they can help. But yes, at one half. But the other half is how do you deal with your emotions? How do you do your vyavahara with your life? How do you interact with people? How do you interact with your being in a lockdown? How do you interact with your family members? Everything matters. If you're not able to communicate yourself, keep things inside, or manipulating, you know, you're thinking something but you're speaking with a sweet tongue, it is going to disrupt your Vishuddhi chakra, you know. Or on the other hand, if you're going to be arrogant, you're going to be rude in your words, if you're going to throw up all those anger inside through your speech, then also it is going to disrupt your Vishuddhi chakra. Well, what do you have to do? Behavioral moderation. If you want to communicate with a sweet, benevolent words, with the same sweetness and benevolence residing in your heart, you know. So that's the right way of tapping Vishuddhi chakra. The second is Agnya chakra. Everybody knows how to tap Agnya chakra through healing exercises. Pranayama can help, your meditation can help, Garbhapindasana can help, Jatrutrataka can help. Yes, it can help. But what about behavioral transformation? What kind of transformation that you should implement in your life? Bring in spiritualism. If you're not able to understand that all the stressors that are coming in your life are just temporal, are just indicators that this entire life, the sansara outside is temporal. I have to move to that unchanging entity. I have to stick to that unchanging entity. It will pass and go away. These are all coming to teach me that highest Vedantic lesson. If you're going to have that spiritual insight in you, then there is transformation happening in your behavior. The third important chakra is the Bindu chakra. I used to say it is often avoided by us, but you very well know the Bindu chakra and Vishuddhi chakra has the link. Bindu gives the Amrita, it secretes the nectar, and the nectar is being absorbed by Udana Prana and the Vishuddhi chakra. Everybody knows all these things. It is there in the Hatha Pradipika, it is there in the Gyaranda Samhita and Hatha Ratnavali. But talking about exercises, healing exercises, everybody is doing. What change that you have to do in your life to make these exercises more comprehensive, more holistic, more integrated is that you have to stop feeling guilty. If you condemn yourself and feel all those oppressive feelings and keep it tight in your heart, then you are creating a disharmony in your emotions. You're creating a disharmony in your health as well. And they also say, if you're going to create a proper lifestyle, having a proper wake up time, proper sleep time, and proper dietary time, then also you can tap Bindu chakra. So it is again Vyavahara that we are talking of. Last but not the least, Sahasrara chakra can also be tapped only by warding off, by alleviating the Sangha, attachment, Raga, Dvesha, excessive attraction and repulsion in the life. If you're going to live in the fantasy life with all those materialistic comforts, thinking that this is going to progress you further up, you're making a terrible mistake. Of course, you are making a terrible mistake in the way of spirituality. Yes, you are making a terrible mistake in creating a good health for you yourself, Always connect yourself to that divine consciousness. Let that divine consciousness, let the Guru, I missed Guru Chakra actually because of the time. Guru is one who dispels darkness and ignorance. The Guru Chakra is being utilized, the Brukuti and Trikuti, as Himalayan yogi Swami Rama says, is utilized for the Bindu Vedana and for tapping the Sahasrara Chakra. So if you're not going to, if you're not able to remove yourself, get away yourself from the attachments, what you can do is surrender. Surrender to the Guru. Whatever is done, is being done, is going to happen, is being guided by the Guru, is being done by the Guru. That's what you have to have for a pleasant way of living, or for pink health, I should say. I would conclude with Bhagavad Gita. Vihaya kaman yas sarvan puman sharati nisprihaha nirmamo nirahankaraha sashantimadigacchati. One thing that if you cannot give up the material desires, what can you do? You can surrender to the Lord. All those desires that are arising in me, Lord, please take care of it. That is given into your pocket. My Guru, Kanchi Mahaperiva used to say, look, if stones are put into the lake, the stones will never come up, it will sink. But the same stones are put into a boat, the stones can also reach the shore through the boat. So put all your stones, put all your problems to the boat, to the Guru, to the Lord, and then you will be on shore one or the other day. Okay, so give up all those material desires, free yourself from mamakara and ahankar. If you're going to do that, you shall restore peace. And peace is what I've been talking of as harmony. I've been talking of homeostasis. Peace is what is the key secret to tap hypothalamus. And if you're not going to do it, it is the cause of all Adija Vyadi. You will remain in the Adija Vyadi with all those clutches of clinical symptoms, even after practicing yoga and pranayama, asana and pranayama, to be very specific. So an attitude of let go of all worries and have a greater understanding of all those mental processes will create homeostasis, will create harmony in your body. So I would conclude saying that yoga and Vedanta has to go parallel. And this is the best way for us to regain holistic health. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Thank you, Lalitha, for such an informative and such amazing presentation and the session. I am so delighted myself because there's such a beautiful way you have brought all of these difficult and complicated aspects which people kind of think of it and they're like, okay, that's too far from me. But you made it so simplified for everybody to understand the little mechanism, how the switchboard is important to have all the buttons to function well on it.
Right.
So I really loved it, and I'm sure the participants have really liked it. We've got quite good comments coming up, but for now, let's focus on the questions. I have a few questions for you. There's somebody who's asking you about the pineal. One second. Okay. The pineal gland is said to be affected by fluoride. Can we regenerate or clear the pineal gland? So I'm not sure if this goes with your subject, but I will leave that discretion to you.
Pineal gland can be tapped only with regular lifestyle, I should say, because melatonin, the secretion of pineal gland is actually regulates your metabolism. So if you're going to sleep properly, melatonin secretion is going to be better. I've seen girls actually getting troubled with their irregular menstruations. And even this irregular menstruations, PCOD, has a lot to do about melatonin secretion. So I used to say, okay, when are you sleeping? They say, I sleep by 2. So I used to say,
very common these days.
Yeah. So I used to say, okay, you better be regular with yoga, and you are, but you have to sleep by 10. Now you're going to join my first morning batch, you know. So that's how I used to say. So pineal gland will work only when you create a great lifestyle. Lifestyle, I'm not telling about jogging, jumping, and having yoga in your life. I also admit that. But if you could correct your sleep time, wake up time, and dietary time, that will give a great lifestyle, I should say. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, indeed. I think it's in one word, you had mentioned it in your presentation also, that make yoga a way of life, not
Right.
just 1 hour on the yoga mat or in a class where you go, but it is basically the entire life of everyday
Off the
routine.
mat.
Yes, it's off the mat, where when you eat, how much you eat, when you sleep. I'm sure question answered well. Now, the next one is about, can SOC be cultivated through daily life? Any practical ways to do that? The sense of coherence?
Yes, sense of coherence can be cultivated by definitely by understanding what resources that you have in your life. Okay, it doesn't mean that money is your resource, luxury is your resource. Your greatest resource is your friend. You know, if you're going to link yourself with your friends and have great contact, not virtual friends, you have great social contacts, but everything is on social media now. Nobody's going to the friend's house, knocking the door. Okay, make breakfast today. We'll have chit chat. Nothing is happening.
Together.
Yes, nothing is happening. And half of the depressive neurosis and anxiety neurosis cases comes with ill social health. So I would say, if you're going to have, if you're going to cultivate your SOC, amass your resources. Resources, the best resource is your friend. And to develop your social health, the fourth important dimension of health, what WHO says in its definition.
Very rightly said, but I'll add up one thing here is first knock the next door of your house. You know, we have rooms in the house. These days, within the house, people are on, mostly
Correct,
they are
correct.
interacting with that.
Correct,
So
correct. Your resources
before
is
you
your family. They had rightly said resources is your family. Try to
start
connect with your
from the
family.
family,
Lockdown has given a great opportunity to
very
connect
great.
yourself. Yes. And it had given an ekanta experience, you know. An ekanta experience is what a yoga sadhaka need. So be a great sadhaka and make many, you know.
Very true. And I think the self introspection, self analysis time, which we all have got, I think how can we make the most of it? One way is yes, by sharing this immense knowledge, bringing all the speakers in and sharing it with
Correct.
everybody. And the other part is developing that strong social and family and friends circle, which is really one of the most sad part of the society, which is going which way. Coming back to the last question for this hour is about the IGF-1 is usually non-functional. This is a question by somebody who's really practically taking the supplements here. So what are the recommendations other than injecting HGH to support the pituitary gland? Is there something which we can do it through the yogic perspective? Because the person is mentioning that if this is not given, then the muscle strength and my bones, they are not very good, you know, the functioning and the strengthening.
Right.
So how can that be done?
Correct. Modern medical science has this administration of injecting steroids, injecting external mechanisms to make the glands work properly. But it is so temporal, I should say. If at all you have to work on your pituitary, work on your hypothalamus, because hypothalamus and pituitary go along together. They are two parallel lines of the train rail, you know, the railway track. So if you're going to work upon hypothalamus, if you're going to work upon your lifestyle, as I say, you are definitely going to enrich your pituitary glands functioning. No glandular dysfunction happens without any cause. The cause is you. As Swami Dayananda says, problem is you and you are the solution. So if you have, I think you are into some hypopituitarism perhaps, and that's why you are highly medicated this way. I'm not telling you to stop having medications, but if you find this transformation happening in your behavior, this transformation happening in your lifestyle, necessarily, I would say definitely you'll be out of these drug condition what medical sciences have given you.
Yeah, with a gradual process and a gradual shift into the, you know, yogic
Right,
system or the
right,
holistic way of lifestyle.
right.
So with that, thank you so much,
Thank
Lalita. But
you.
before I really say final thanks to you, I will take a piece of advice for everybody here. How can they get this balance in their lives in a nutshell? I'll just go with the next session, which is happening in the evening. So I'll do that little announcement and then come back to you.
Okay, sure.
Yes. So we have this global festival of yoga happening, and every day we have 3 sessions. Today evening from 7 to 8 p.m., 8:30 actually. So from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time, we have Audrey Rail coming up here for a session which will be a talk come a practice session, who is a founder of Nidra Consciousness Foundation, and he will talk about Nidra Yoga and also give you a very, very relaxing and soothing evening for your lovely night. And I'm sure all of you should join this. And tomorrow again, we have a sequence of programs coming up. Can you please tell how can people take this into their daily lives in a very simple way?
Sure, Neha. I've been watching people for many years. Everybody knows which asana is very beneficial to hypertension and hypothyroidism. Everybody knows about asana, pranayama, its benefits and contraindications. I would request everyone to first of all implement Vedantic values into life. That's my kind request. It is not the asana, pranayama that is going to work. It is the implementation, nitidhyasana, implementation aspect of Vedantic values that is going to work. So first of all, to implement the Vedantic value, you have to transform yourself, your emotions, the way that you emote, the way that you behave with people around matters a lot. And the way that you speak, everything matters a lot. So emotional harmony and vyavahara, everybody knows about ahara, vichara, the third aspect, vyavahara, is always avoided, neglected. So I would request, if you bring in balance in the emotions and make a complete behavioral transformation, trying to become Swamiji themselves, trying to become Swamiji himself. If you're going to do that behavioral transformation, that is the key to your success, key to perhaps this the purpose of my presentation, homeostasis.
Thank you so much, Lalitha. Very rightly said, and the last message was so well said in this time today, since COVID is all around us and we have a lot of fear and so many things happening, stress is developed. So a lot of other aspects are important, but more importantly, it is, as you had mentioned, about the achar, vichar, and the vyavhar. So the achar of a person, the vyavhar of the person, and the vichar, the thought process. I hope all of the participants are now going to try from their houses, knocking the next room first, and then slowly get not not only on the social media. I would say this is an important aspect and part of our lives now, but at least take that little step out and bring yoga in a very holistic way as a part of your life, and not just on the mat but off the mat. With
Yes.
that note, I really thank you so much, Lalitha, for being with us.
Oh, love you
Thanks.
are here.
I'm so glad I was the one here to
Yeah,
host. In fact,
it was
I feel
perfect for
blessed.
me. Thank you, thank you, thank you,
And
Vinayji. Thank
thanks
you,
to
Radhaji. Thank
all the participants. I would really take this 2 minutes to thank all the participants for their contribution by attending, giving these beautiful comments and feedbacks to us, plus patience for the technical issue which we went through just for a few minutes. So I hope you were in the Samatwam when the technical issue was happening. So this was a real example for the live session she had. And with that note, thanks a lot to Indica Yoga, and I see you all hopefully soon. And please keep watching, keep sharing, and pass it on. You can see the recordings of these videos, all of the speakers' videos on the YouTube, on the Indica Yoga website, as well as the page. The live sessions are already on the YouTube and the Facebook. So please feel free. If you have missed something, you can catch up on that particular session and pass it on to all your friends so that they all can get benefited. Let's be and make.
you.
Thank you so much.